Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner, all the way from Texas. How are you doing this fine Tuesday evening, Cody?
James, we're fantastic, and you were holding up the terrible towel there, the American flag terrible towel. We're recording on a Tuesday because yesterday was Memorial Day. We wanted to take the day off and kind of just say thank you. We remember those who, have unfortunately lost their lives fighting for our freedom, because freedom isn't free, James, and that's something that we need to remember and be thankful for and everything like that. So thank you for those of you that are listening. If you've served our country, or if you know anybody or have a relative that has lost their lives for our country, we thank you and thank them for their services, and are with all of you in celebrating, all of that and remembering them for sure. So, James, how are you? I'm good. I'm decent. I'm all right. You know how I am. The world knows how I am. It's okay. We'll get to that. Or whatever.
Yeah, you've been screaming it from the rooftops, buddy.
Not loud enough yet. I'm just waiting to get the A-OK. But living the dream over here. Living the dream, as some people would say.
Well, I'm doing well also, buddy. The puppies are getting pretty big. They're almost 6 weeks old now. So exciting times around here. It's tough to have a bad day when there's puppies in the house. I'll tell you that.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
But you know who else is having a tough time having a bad day right now?
Probably the Cleveland Browns.
No, they have bad days all the time. That's just
fair.
the way that works.
Fair.
Dan Moore Jr.
Ooh.
That's who's having a tough time having a bad day right now, because there's a big difference between how people approach a situation. You can go up against adversity and you can kind of roll over and say, well, whatever, I guess, I'm not going to get the good end of things this time around. Or you can go back to the grind. You can work your tail off and show what you're really made of. And Dan Moore Jr. at OTAs is in better shape than he's been in previous years. And of course, you always hear this sort of thing. Oh my goodness. But there is a legitimate noticeable difference. He's up from 310 to 317. But he says he's probably about 20 pounds of muscle heavier than he was before.
Which is great.
Yeah, he really looked a lot leaner to me, which is even crazy that he's actually heavier than he was before. And he's running with the first team early on here in OTAs at left tackle. And I like it because you're making Broderick Jones earn it. He's a rookie. He's done nothing in the league yet. You got to make him earn it. I do think that Broderick Jones will overtake him at some point in time, but I absolutely love the approach from Dan Moore Jr. He's really saying all the right things, telling reporters that he's willing to play wherever the Steelers want him, whether it be the left side, the right side, at a different position from tackle, whatever they want him to do. So absolutely love the attitude from Dan Moore Jr. on this.
Yeah, and here's what I'll say about that, because I think that some people are confused about how football happens or the draft works, or especially how Pittsburgh operates. Just because they invested a first-round pick and traded up for it with Broderick Jones does not mean he's the instant starter. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Moore has if Dan Moore has a phenomenal preseason with OTAs and practices and preseason games in general. There's a chance that Dan Moore starts the season at left tackle. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities by any means. Now, again, Broderick Jones, if he comes in, he has the stature and the strength to do all this stuff. And if he learns slowly behind Dan Moore and with the coaching staff and from the other offensive linemen, different techniques and stuff like that, sure. Should he take over by probably mid-season, end of the year? Yes. That's why they invested the first round pick on him. And don't be surprised if Dan Moore plays a different position. He's open to doing that, like you just said. But Broderick Jones is not the instant starter week one left tackle. That's just not the way that's going to work. So,
nope.
And that's how Pittsburgh operates. Nope. And I love it. Absolutely love it.
And on the flip side, if Dan Moore just looks okay in the preseason and Broderick Jones looks absolutely amazing, well then, hey, you start him week one. But he's got to earn it, and 100%. Pittsburgh will make him earn it. What I love about this is the attitude that Dan Moore has about this, means that when Pittsburgh goes jumbo set and brings on that sixth offensive lineman, it's like 99% sure it's going to be Dan Moore. And he's a friggin' mauler in the run game and was last year. And now he's bigger and stronger than he was last year. So that is a really exciting idea of the possibility of Dan Moore being the sixth offensive lineman in those jumbo sets. And if it's not him,
it's Darnell Washington.
And it might be Broderick Jones as the sixth guy if he's just not the starter yet.
Yep.
So it's still a butt kicker in the run game, and all good no matter how you look at it for those two guys. The competition level against each other, I'm really excited about that. Now, the reason that this is so exciting to me and why it's all about how you handle adversity is because of how Kevin Dotson, unfortunately, has handled his situation. Isaac Seumalo, the free agent guard that Pittsburgh got from Philadelphia, did run with the first team right away at left guard. Kevin Dotson was moved to second team, which I think everyone expected. But he had an interview where he kind of explained how the offseason went for him. He explained how they went and signed Nate Herbig, and he got a phone call from the offensive line coach, and the offensive line coach told him, hey, don't worry about it. We signed Nick to be a depth piece, to be a quality backup that can back up either side. This doesn't have anything to do with your position. And then they went and signed Isaac Seumalo, and he said he still hasn't heard from the coaching staff. Well, nobody ever called him. So he's real salty about it. And then he went as far as to say, he said, I'm not naive. When you pay a man, you pay him because you're going to play him.
Yep.
And that's realistic. But at the same point in time, get your head out of the sand, Ostrich. You still have an opportunity
100%.
to show people what you're made of.
100%.
Did they sign Isaac Seumalo to start him? Absolutely, yes. Yeah. Absolutely. But when you go around town moping like that, it's a real bad look for you. And it's a real bad look for future suitors, too, because you're probably not going to get re-signed in Pittsburgh now.
And I'll say this before, I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't necessarily think, I didn't hear the interview. I don't know specifically how his vocal cords were or whatever, or how he enunciated things, whatever. There's so much that goes into how you lay words out there. It's not always what you say, it's how you say it. There's a chance that he's just acknowledging this. And James, I don't know if you heard this. I don't know if you heard it or not. There's a chance he's not moping. There's a chance he's going into this with a very good attitude. The problem is, it just, in my opinion, it just means he's not a vocal leader, which is fine. Some people are, some people aren't. A vocal leader in this situation would be like, you know what, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do the best I can for this team to win. And if that's pushing the new guy to be better and be behind him, that's fine. If that's being better than him myself and getting myself to that point, that's fine. And James, I don't remember we talked about this when we signed him. Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce's brother, who plays on the Eagles at the center position, said that this was the smartest guy he's ever played with.
Yeah.
So
he's got nothing but great things to say about Isaac Seumalo.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. Yeah. But again, I don't know what Kevin Dotson, how he was saying it. Obviously, we know what he said. But there's still an opportunity for him to go out there and perform well. Anyone can win a starting job. You just got to do the work. You know what I mean?
And in interior depth is so important. If the thought process was that Nate Herbig was only good enough to be Kevin Dotson's backup, then Kevin Dotson would be by default the top backup interior offensive lineman. I would think this is an opportunity for you to prove maybe you can snap the ball. Mason Cole is not the long-term solution. He's like 29 years old. If you say, hey, I want to show you guys that I can snap the ball, maybe after this season's up and Mason Cole's contract's up, they say, hey, Kevin Dotson could be a dominant center. Just, you got to think outside of the box sometimes. 100%. You got to be willing to do things. And that's where I say that it's just so different, because Dan Moore was like, hey, if you need me to be the kicker, I'll do it. You're like, I'll do anything. Yeah. And Kevin Dotson's like, well, they don't want me on the field.
And here's the other thing I'm going to say with that. This could 100% be a sports psychology move on the coaching staff here. They could have easily known they were trying to acquire both of these guys. And he said, you know what, we'll sign this guy. I'm going to call him, let him know he's a backup. And not to worry, but then when we sign this other guy, I'm gonna let him soak in it. I'm gonna let him sulk for a little bit and realize I gotta, put the work in now. And so, I could be overlooking that completely, but I took a sports psychology class and psychology and all this stuff in college, and my brain just does that stuff naturally, like thinking about how they could be playing with his mind. How do we get the best out of this guy? Sometimes it's you call a player out. Sometimes it's you call him out in private, or you call him out in front of the team. And some guys respond well to those things. Maybe Kevin Dotson's just a guy that we put him in a situation where we're not going to talk to him, but he knows what's up.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see.
Very well could be.
Yeah, we talked about.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, hopefully he just keeps his nose to the grind, shows what he's made of, and has a nice preseason.
Yeah,
because he could still get himself a nice big contract from somebody outside of Pittsburgh, or like I said, maybe even shows his position versatility. If he can show that he can snap the ball, hey man, you could probably be a better center than what Mason Cole is because you're physically more gifted than him.
100%. And I mean, we're talking about the center position. Kendrick Green is already listed as center 2 right now, or was taking snaps at center with the second team offense. So right there's another interior depth guy that's kind of being pushed back. And this is an opportunity for Kevin Dotson say, hey, if I want to make sure I have a job on this team, or make sure I want to, let me get good at center, let me get good at another position. There's options here.
Yeah. I mean, he's been on the team for 3 years now. He knows that the Kendrick Green stinks.
Yep.
Realistically, I'm sure he would be a good teammate that would never say that in public and probably never say it outside of his own home. But he knows that he's a better offensive lineman than Kendrick Green. Go show it on the field, man. Continue your furthering your education, your ability to play different positions, and take his job.
Yeah, go do it. Speaking of a job that's up for grabs, James, the nickel corner position has quite the question mark on it moving forward. And we had a new guy step up here. James, you want to talk about him?
Yeah, Shandon Sullivan, the free agent that Pittsburgh signed from the Minnesota Vikings previously. Apparently last year, not his best year. The year before was pretty solid. And he's still young enough that I wouldn't be super concerned about one down here. Seems to be an upgrade over Arthur Mollett in the pass defense game. Arthur Mollett also posting a bunch of stuff online lately. He's real salty about the whole situation. After demanding a release and everything, it's starting to be a real bad look on what he's been posting on Instagram and whatnot. But what is for sure is that what we were getting out of the nickel position last year wasn't good enough.
100%.
So I'm optimistic. I want to see Shandon Sullivan. I want to see what he's got, see how he looks, see how he is in coverage most importantly, because you can always do different things in short yardage situations. Maybe you play DeMonte KZ in the slot. He's really tough against the run. Maybe you even put Keanu Neal up there if you know that it's more likely to be a run than a pass.
Yep.
There's all kinds of things that you can do to be creative to get bigger, more physical dudes up there. But you need somebody that can actually cover a receiver. It's pretty important.
It's kind of important, James. It's kind of up there.
Pretty important. They're saying Pat Pete might get some reps there too.
Oh, we need that. I
wouldn't mind seeing Pat Pete and nickel.
Not at all. I would love to. I would love to see it because I know that he's going to outplay most of the tight ends in the league, which is phenomenal and what we need, quite frankly. But then moving on to some moves Steelers made. Currently, 87 players on the roster before they made this signing. They did sign a big name guy, kind of a 3-time Pro Bowler, if I'm not mistaken. Outside linebacker Marcus Golden to a 1-year deal previously with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes. Most recently. I've been with a few teams over the years at this point. Pro Bowler in 2016, 19, and also 2021.
Which is fantastic. It's recent success. It's not like they were all 2016, 2017, 2018, and then didn't do anything since. Yeah. So pretty awesome, honestly. This is a guy with a serious resume who understands going into it. I am not being signed to be the starting outside linebacker. I'm being signed to be the number one backup to both guys. Yep.
This is going to be the best backup outside linebacker that Pittsburgh's had since they signed Melvin Ingram, but Melvin Ingram was unclear on the concept of being a backup.
Correct.
As to where Marcus Golden is definitely clear on that. I guarantee that was crystal clear in the conversations during the negotiation. We still don't know what the contract terms are. No idea what the money is on this, but we'll let you know in the next episode because I'm sure we'll know by then how much he got paid.
Yeah, and here's the one thing that I'm going to say about any outside linebacker that gets picked up for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here's what it comes down to. You're technically a starter in certain situations. You are playing with either Alex Highsmith or TJ Watt at certain points, which means you're going to have ample opportunity to increase your resume, to get sacks. You're not going to call the double teams. You're not going to get those. It's just not going to happen.
Nope, the other guy will get them.
Or Cam Hayward. Like, let's be real. Yeah. There's other guys on the defensive line or the defensive front that are going to call for double teams and blitz pickups and all this stuff. Marcus Golden has an awesome opportunity here to potentially, I wouldn't say another Pro Bowl year because it's just not likely from a backup position in any position, but he has the chance to pad his stats and pad his resume for sure here with Pittsburgh this year. So I'm excited for that moving forward this year.
Yeah, I'm just excited about not having to worry about a major one of those for a breather. You know, you don't have to worry.
You're not worried about a major what? Sorry, say that one more time.
A major drop off as far as quality of play.
Yeah.
When you're talking about somebody with this much experience, he's a big dude. He's like 6'3", 260. So he's thick. He can handle the run being in his direction.
That boy's thick. Sorry. That boy's thick. No idea. I said that boy's thick.
Yeah, he's thick for sure. But that's what you want. You want a backup outside linebacker that can handle all responsibilities that isn't a major drop-off. Because for the last, I don't know how many years, maybe 10, it seems, whoever the backup outside linebackers have been a major drop-off. So finally, this is someone who can continue the pressure on the quarterback when he comes in. And not be someone that's immediately targeted as soon as he enters the field.
It was basically always when the backups came in an outside linebacker, you either ran to that side or you did some kind of play action with a tight end release and you had wide open players or you just schemed for it. It's all about scheming on offense against stuff like that, substitution packages and everything. And unfortunately, Pittsburgh didn't have the depth at outside linebacker to match anything that the offense would do. To attack those positions. And like you said, Melvin Ingram was probably the best one since then. And even then...
Yeah, he cried his way out of town.
100%. 100%.
Let's call it what it is, man. He cried and said, I'll be here if I can't start.
Fair. Not fair, but whatever. It was an accurate representation, James. Accurate.
It literally was word for word.
It was. James, I'm excited about the next guy we're going to talk about who the Steelers signed. We went to 89 guys on the roster with one more roster spot left. And a guy they signed, I don't even know who he is. I'm just happy about it. Steelers signed.
Yeah, why? Why?
I'm getting there, James. Hold your horses. Steelers signed undrafted free agent Cody Crest, wide receiver, 6'3", 193 pounds. Ran a 4.38 40 with 16 reps on the bench. Strong little man with speed. We like it. 6.77 on the 3-cone, 38-inch vert with a 10.5 broad. Decent agility and burst there. And James, I'm excited because it's a Cody. It's another Cody. I'm happy that we have
these Cody wide receivers.
I just like having Cody wide. I was a wide receiver in high school. I just enjoy seeing another fellow Cody have success that I didn't have. Quite frankly.
It's probably bad news for Cody White, but Cody Crest, a drastically more athletic individual, had 6 years of college football. 6. 3 at Princeton, 3 at Sam Houston State, which is where he went after Princeton. My guess is to get a little bit better competition on the football field.
More than likely.
And a little bit more playing time, too. Yeah. Not gaudy numbers in college at all, but a highly athletic individual, at least highly athletic in his testing.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. I'd like to see him running out there in the preseason. At least we know now that there's going to be competent quarterback play. Hopefully the offensive line holds up enough for these guys to give them a chance to throw the ball. But if the 3 guys throwing the ball in the preseason games are the ones currently on the roster, then these receivers are going to get a chance to catch the ball.
Oh, 100%. We probably have the strongest quarterback depth in the league by far.
Yeah.
And it's not close at all. at all. It's just not, and that's fine. All right, we didn't mention this before, but obviously, if you guys have been listening, or if you read the description or saw the post on that, like whatever it was, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the audio file, we are going to go over the Cleveland Browns draft. This is the last week of our 3-week breakdown of all the AFC North drafts, the other teams in the AFC North other than Pittsburgh. We started with the Ravens, the Ratbirds, but then we went to the Bengals, the Bungles, and now we're on the Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Buttholes. Okay, so here we go. Cleveland. I don't know. I'm trying to. What else do you call them?
The Clowns.
The Cleveland Clowns. That sounds better. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna start off. The Cleveland did not have a first-round pick or a second-round pick. That is a fat rip for y'all.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Anyways, so their first pick came in round 3, and it was pick number 73. And it was a guy by the name of Cedric Tillman. Now, James, this is the part of the show that you're going to get upset with me, and I'm only doing it for this one show only. Okay?
Yes.
Cedric Tillman is a wide receiver from Tennessee. Tennessee, who is one of their biggest rivals?
Tennessee's biggest rivals?
Yes.
Oh, no. I think I know what you're doing. I mean, I don't know Tennessee well enough to know who their rivals are, but I'm going to assume that you're about to show a really ugly shirt. Oh, no.
James, I feel
Good
horrible
Lord.
doing this, but I had to. Just to show support against their player and for somebody in my life who we all know about, and that's fine. This is the only time this is going to happen on the podcast. We need to move on from it. I'm wearing a West Virginia Mountaineer shirt. I don't like it. But I'm going against a player that Cleveland put their first overall pick, technically in this draft, their first pick on Cedric Tillman. Let's talk about Cedric Tillman. Let's not talk about my shirt. Let's move on.
Yeah, definitely the player Cedric Tillman is a good wide receiver. Big guy, 6'3", 213. Not fast by any means. Kind of pedestrian athletic numbers, but he does have a good resume as far as his experience in Tennessee. So it's a good receiver. This is not a burner. This is not someone that we have to worry about are our guys fast enough to cover. So that means another big pedestrian athleticism wide receiver in Cleveland, just kind of like the guy that they took early last year in the draft.
Yeah.
Bell, I think was his name. Was it David Bell?
I believe so.
Yeah, just another big, slow wide receiver. So good hands, good physicality, good experience. He's a second-generation guy. His dad played in the league.
Yep.
So these are all good things. I'm not saying that I think that he's going to be a bum. It's just he's not going to be somebody that lights you up for 200 yards either.
Nope, it's not going to happen. It's a guy that I think could come in, and quite honestly, I'm not making a
He's not even going to play, bro.
No, I'm not making a direct comparison. But I when I look at him, and I kind of looked at some stuff this week as I was just bored and kind of watching stuff, and his name popped up on my thing, and I was like, okay, Browns pick, we're going to talk about him. He reminds me a little bit of like how Hines Ward was sneaky. Hines Ward wasn't fast, but Hines Ward was sneaky. And like, I feel like if he ever gets playing time, he's just going to be a third down conversion type guy. He's not going to be,
dude.
he's not going to blow up any plays. I don't think he's going to block as well as Hines Ward did, but that's beside the point. So again, this is a guy that, ironically enough, their first pick in the draft may not even make the team. Or at least he'll make the team.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, but he'll
make the team. I don't think he's really going to. Yeah, he's not going to start, and he probably won't see significant playing time. He'll probably be like the number 4 or 5 wide receiver on the depth chart. Barring injury, of course, because they traded for a guy in the offseason, and then they still have Amari Cooper, and then they have last year's second-round pick, and Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's not leapfrogging all these guys.
No,
he'll be lucky to leapfrog 1 or 2 of them. So that's the first guy, a solid pick, but not a huge needle mover by any means, being that we don't expect him to really see the field that much. Their next pick, Siaka Ika, a defensive tackle out of Baylor, is a huge nose tackle type, 6'3", 335 pounds with short arms. The second slowest 40-yard dash of all defensive linemen. The only one slower was P.J. Mustipher out of Penn State. Yep. Unfortunately, he showed up in poor shape and clearly did not train for the the combine, which is crazy because Penn State guys usually blow that up. But Siaka Ika was slightly better in a lot of those times, but just not a really highly athletic dude. His last year of college ball was drastically lesser than what his previous year was, which is one of the big knocks and one of the reasons that he was still available that late into the third quarter at pick 98. The third round is almost over at that point.
Yep.
No,
it
so
was
he's
the
dang near a
compensatory
fourth-round
pick. So
yeah, there you go. So a compensatory pick in the third round early on in the draft process before we had all the information from this current season. He was expected to be a first or second round pick. So that shows you kind of how much he fell off throughout the process through having a poor performance at the combine and then a poor senior season as well.
Yeah.
But he is a very stout individual who will stuff the run. But I kind of feel like this is another one of those dudes that's probably going to be a rookie contract only, and he'll be on another team after 4 years. But wouldn't be surprised if he starts for them and knows it D tackle opposite Dalvin Tomlinson.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. We'll see what happens. And again, this is a guy, you could say this about anybody. I understand that some players make plays for themselves. That's a guy that if you put him around talent, he'll be able to be more of an accent piece and appear to play better than what he normally would. So
you won't move him easily.
No.
So he probably will be good against the run still in the pros. He's just going to have a tough time with success on like stretch plays and as far as getting after the quarterback. That's probably never going to be his thing.
Nope.
The next pick, massive individual, DeJuan Jones from Ohio State.
6'8",
like 380 pounds.
Yeah, 374 is what he weighed in at the draft or the combine.
Yeah, so everybody was concerned about his weight through the pre-draft process, right? Because when you're that big, you typically don't last in the NFL.
Yep.
And then he
unless your name is Vince Wilfork.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Drastically different.
Yeah, offensive line, it typically doesn't work because you're too easily knocked off balance.
Yep.
He refused to weigh in at his pro day.
Yikes.
Yeah, he didn't work out at the pro day either.
Yikes. Good job,
so
Cleveland.
He went to the combine, weighed in heavier than they expected him to or wanted to see him weigh in at, and then refused to weigh in at his pro day. It was just kind of a bad look. And again, this is a guy that was expected to be about a second round offensive tackle because of the size. Most teams figured, hey, if we can coach him up, we ought to be able to turn this guy into a starting right tackle in the NFL, maybe never a left tackle, but keep him on the right-hand side and see what you can do. So he'll be on the roster. He might be a serious project, and I would expect that if he does get on the field, a guy like TJ Watt's just going to manhandle him. He'll use leverage on him all most of the day.
Yeah, and to put it in perspective, his senior year in high school, he was listed as 6'7", 350. So that's 25 pounds of added weight with an extra inch of height that he put on through college that may not have all consistently been healthy weight. You can't imagine that most high schoolers aren't in the best shape of their life. And when you add 25 pounds through college, that's normally you'd see maybe 10 or 15 of muscle with a loss of like 20 pounds of fat or whatever it was. And it would average or even out more than what this did. So that 24 pounds, 30 pounds, quite frankly, if he's 380 now, isn't a good look for him by any means. But again, this is a guy that in the fourth round,
it's a fourth round pick.
Yeah. See what happens with him. See if you can put him in the weight room for a year, like what we wanted to do with tight end, the tight end from across the pond. I don't remember his name now. Christian Skylar Williamson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, put him in the weight room for a year. See what happens.
CSW. Yep.
So
next guy is basically the size that you're looking for already. If you're in Cleveland's 4-3 type scheme, defensive ends in that size are typically going to look size-wise similar to what Myles Garrett is, and that's exactly what Isaiah McGuire is. Their other fourth round pick here, 6'4", 271 pounds. So he's a 4-3 D end. He's got some decent production numbers coming out of college.
Phenomenal production numbers.
Yeah, he did well there. Just again, this late into the draft, he's not going to start. He'll be a depth piece for them, and we'll see. we'll see. I think this is a pretty decent selection for them. Probably better than the 2 previous picks.
Yeah, weird that they picked him up that late when I think he was probably better than their original or their pick before that. But anyways, it is what it is. Next guy was their first round or their first pick in the 5th round. They had 2 fourths that we just went over with DeJuan Jones, Isaiah McGuire. And then they had 2 picks in the 5th round as well, with the first one being at pick 140, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, quarterback from UCLA. Now, there's no chance this guy's seeing the field right away, as long as barring an injury or something, because they got Deshaun Watson. And now, this is going to be the first offseason that Deshaun Watson has all offseason, all preseason, all this stuff to do what he needs to do to get ready for the year. But this guy was a redshirt senior from UCLA, 6'2", 203 pounds. They call him DTR is his nickname.
Yes.
Apparently, it's universally known across the football landscape that it's DTR. So I don't know. I don't know what that means.
It's short for Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Well, I know, but I don't know. They made it seem like a bigger deal.
I mean, he was a fairly well-known prospect coming out, just because of his athleticism and the school that he went to. He did kind of stick out in the East-West Shrine Bowl. He was actually the quarterback that made me catch my attention to the Michigan State linebacker, because the Michigan State linebacker kept on running him down. And he was running away from most other defenders, but Ben Sumer, and it was from Michigan State, kept on running him down. And I was like, my God, how fast is this linebacker if he's catching this quarterback that's pretty doggone fast?
Yeah.
So highly athletic backup quarterback. He'll hopefully, for his sake, get a chance to sit and try and learn. At least Josh Dobbs is in that room, so he'll have at least one smart guy in that room that can help bring him along.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Yeah. The other guy's intelligence has been in question for about 5 or 6 years now.
And let me put it this way.
But it's more his off-the-field decisions than the on-the-field ones that have gotten him into trouble.
Yeah, let me put it this way. He, in his 5-year college career with the Bruins, this guy had 6 less rushing touchdowns than he did interceptions. Yeah, he threw 33 interceptions on 80, with 86 touchdowns passing, and then ran for 27 touchdowns.
That's an athlete for you.
Yep. Or just good scheming. One of the two. One of the two. And you have to assume it's the latter, or the prior being a good athlete. So we'll see what happens with him. And I'm excited to see him in the preseason. I'm not going to lie. Guys like this that aren't going to play for our division rivals, more than likely, at least, especially in the regular season, it's kind of fun to see how they play.
Yeah. Yeah. Next guy, the cornerback, Cody. What's his name again?
Cameron Mitchell. Cameron Mitchell, the cornerback from Northwestern.
Northwestern.
They didn't list any height or weight on him, which was kind of weird.
I got it. I had to scroll for a while. That's why I wanted you to say his name, because now I don't.
Fair.
But I got the height weight. It's like way at the bottom of the article. So he's 5'10" and 6'8", 191 pounds, 31 3/8 on the arm length, which is pretty short. 15 reps on the bench, which is tremendous for a corner, and a 4.47 40. So good speed and strength, decent size, short arms, probably a nickel corner is my guess.
Yeah, especially
pretty good size for a nickel corner.
Yeah, and they put down as one of his weaknesses that he has to be more consistent with his footwork, because he struggles to stay with receivers out of routes. So again, this is a guy that you have a good route runner on him, you're going to put up yards all day. Which not to say that nickel cornerbacks don't guard route running as well, but you're not going to see as smooth of route running as tight ends. Well, that's fair. You're not going to see normally as smooth of route running out of tight ends and running backs as you are the number 1 or 2 wide receivers that they have on the outside. So he could be a potential backup nickel corner for them. Maybe starter. I don't know their cornerback room very well. We'll look into that moving forward at some point. And then they had one last pick in the 6th round. It was their last pick in the draft. Round 6, pick 190. Luke Weipler, center from Ohio State. They kept it in the Ohio as a state twice in this draft. So they stayed close to home, like Pittsburgh likes to do.
Yeah. And Luke is a guy that some people were real high on in this draft class. Had him as a 2nd or 3rd round type character dude. 6'3", 300 pounds, but the big knock on Luke is the arm length. It is very short, which I am sure is exactly why he fell all the way to the 6th round. And let's not forget now Pittsburgh's defensive front has 2 guys with long arms starting. And then the third one is Larry Ogunjobi, who I think would have any issues with a guy the size of Luke Weipler. So he's going to be the backup. They just re-signed their starting center to a 3-year extension. So I don't have any fallacies of thinking that this guy's going to be getting significant playing time, barring any kind of injuries. But otherwise, if he sees the field in significant time against the Steelers, it's not going to be a good look for the Browns.
Nope, not at all. Which we love that though. Please start him.
Please.
Yeah, I'll pay you to start him. I don't have much money, but I'll pay you. With that being said,
I'll put 5 on it.
I'll put 10 down. I got 10 right now. But no, with that being said, we can't thank you guys enough. That's going to wrap up this episode. Again, we went over the Ravens draft, the Bengals draft, and now the Browns draft in these last 3 episodes. Be excited for what's coming forward. We're not 100% sure what the next episode is going to have, but we're going to be getting closer to the preseason, closer to training camp, going over all the things that are happening, giving you guys the update on what's happening. Even another update right now. A player today, James, had a pick 6 against Kenny Pickett in practice.
Yeah, Mark Robinson had one, which tremendous to hear. That's the one thing that is the big question mark on Mark Robinson. We know he can handle the run. We know he's actually very good against the run. But the reason he didn't get more playing time at the end of the season is because he doesn't have much experience as a pass defender. So getting a pick 6 in practice today is a good sign. Also, it's a good sign that it was against Kenny because that means he was probably with the starting defense.
Big facts. And that could have been for a number of reasons. It could have just been to say, hey, let's see what he does. It could have been somebody who was stretching or warming up.
Yeah, and Holcomb's still coming back. He's not 100% from that foot injury from last year yet. So that could be it too.
Tons of different reasons it could be. Either way, we're excited. So again, thank you guys so much for listening or watching. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe and ring the bell. Don't forget those 5-star reviews. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.